I go in there and just brawl it out with the other kid and make him cry. Going to Africa was something that I always wanted to do.
Who is the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world?
You looking at him.
So how's everything going out here in the mountains?
Everything's been great. Everything's according to the plan, and we just counting down the days.
How different is life here from Omaha?
Oh, well, it's more peaceful, less distractions. Got the altitude, and everything's convenient.
Does this start to feel like home now? You've been here so much.
Oh, of course. As you know, I bought a house. This is my house last year, so we've been coming up here since late 2012, I believe.
Okay. We were speaking to Amir recently, and Amir's life changed when he won an Olympic medal in 2004. Your life changed in very different circumstances in 2008 after you got shot. Is that right?
Correct.
So how did things change, and how did that change your mindset, and in terms of how you were looking forward at the future?
Well, it just made me move a little different. I take it as a wake-up call, but that's old, that's behind me, so.
It's good. It's always a good story, though, that boxing can give salvation, though, and help people out and help people change the direction of their life.
Yeah, but I'm tired of telling that story.
Okay, did you know that boxing was your ticket out?
Of course. I started boxing when I was 7. I was away from boxing about 5 years. I came back in 2002, and that's when I really got serious with boxing and felt that I can do something real good with it.
Did you anticipate that it could lead you to things like this, to main eventing at Madison Square Garden, to being a pound-for-pounder? Did you anticipate that?
Well, I anticipate being a world champion. That was my ultimate dream and goals, and that's what, I was training for, was to be a world champion. Everything else then was second-tier goals and things that just happened along the way.
In many ways, your breakout win was Brady's Prescott. Would you agree?
Right.
And the same guy had a devastating effect on Amir early on in his career after 16 fights. But in what way was that a breakout fight for you?
Well, that was a fight that was televised on HBO. I was a late replacement. I was the co-main event of Brandon Rios, Mike Alvarado, I believe. That's the fight that a lot of people started taking notice of who I really was, and that's the fight that put me on the mainstream.
And I've seen you speak very fondly of your victory over Ricky Burns in Scotland. Is that, and for the longest period of time, you said that was the best night of your career. Is that still the case, or have you?
Correct. That's when I fulfilled all my dreams, was becoming the world champion. And that night, I don't think nothing can replace that night as of now.
But do you think things will get bigger and better than that? Do you think you'll top that?
It could, but for the most part, me becoming undisputed, that was a great moment for me in my career and my legacy. But at the same time, the feeling that I got winning my first world title was a totally different feeling from becoming undisputed.
You consolidated after that with some fights at home. How have you built that fan base in Omaha? How's that come about? Because some fighters in the US haven't drawn in their hometowns. Is it the same way that you draw out there?
Well, like I always told my promoter and the people that surround Top Rank, and even before I was with Top Rank, I told them I had a big following. A lot of people will always ask me when I'm going to fight at home, when the next fight. So I was constantly getting asked about fighting in Omaha. And not just random people, some big time people in the city, because they remember me as an amateur. So when it came time for me to fight in Omaha, everybody showed up and turned out and supported me.
Do you like fighting there? Is that a preference to fight at home?
Yeah, who wouldn't like to fight at home? It's convenient, you win, you already at home. You don't have to worry about flying back home or anything. Everything is right there. But at the same time, I'm a fighter. I'll fight anywhere.
And beating Gamboa took you to the next level, didn't it? It took you almost into the elite status.
Correct. That's a fight that...
people thought that was a 50-50.
Yeah, that's a fight that a lot of people thought that I was going to lose. Some people would say they wish me the best, but they think that I'm over my head at this fight. But, they gave me my props after the fight.
Is he the most similar style that you fought to Amir Khan?
Not even. I believe they have different styles.
It's just the hand speed.
They both have fast hands, but one thing about Gamboa, he was short with fast feet as well. So sometimes I misjudge his placement because of his height. So, that was a difference.
And that Gamboa fight took you to the next level in terms of popularity and celebrity and everything else, didn't it? Do you agree?
Correct.
What's it like being a famous celebrity? Do you like it?
It's normal. This was something that I already knew would come with the territory, with becoming champion and becoming one of the best fighters in the world. So I prepared myself for this before this even happened. It's like I'm living it again through my dreams.
So you saw it coming?
Correct.
But some people don't like it when it comes. And, if you're out with your family and you're doing stuff like that, some people don't like the trappings of fame.
Yeah, it gets frustrating sometimes, but at the same time, those are the people that's paying for your fights. Those are the people that's, putting money in your pockets, I should say. Because without the fans, you're nobody. There's a lot of great fighters in the world that don't have a big following, that don't get what they deserve because of the following. Not that they not a great fighter or they can't fight their ass off. It's the backing. They don't have the support from the general public.
Sure, okay. You're obviously up at 147 now. How hard did it become to make 135 back in the day? The face tells it all.
Yeah.
Really rough.
I would say the Ray Beltran fight, that was the peak of it. When I fought Gamboa and Ricky Burns, I made it fairly easy. It's just that transition from fight to fight, and I did everything the same. And when I fought Beltran, it just stuck to me, and it was time to move up.
What kind of things did you have to do to shift the weight?
Workout. I was working to lose weight, I should say.
Yeah.
I wasn't working to get better. I was working to lose the weight, so it took a lot out of me and put a lot of stress on my body as well.
Sure. When was the last time you lost?
2007.
And who was that to?
To Miguel Gonzalez.
Okay.
In the Olympic trials.
How did that feel?
I felt I won, but that wasn't my dream, so I just shook it off and was like, okay, it's time to go pro. I see y'all in the professional league, and a lot of people that I was fighting with in the amateurs, not even close to where I'm at now, and that just shows, the level that I have grown since then.
What's brought you on the most as a fighter? Why have you improved so drastically over the last 5-10 years?
I feel like I always had a professional style than amateur, and I'm a student to the game. I always studied. I always want to learn different styles and watch different styles when I watch boxing, just so if I ever came across a style like that, I know what to do. Watch tendencies and, just dissect a fighter.
Do you have a fear of losing?
No. I don't really too much try to think about that. I know the chances of me losing in a fight is anything can happen. But at the same time, it's boxing. I don't worry about them things. I just focus on what I have to focus on, and everything else is gonna play out how it's gonna play out.
You're a family man in a dangerous sport. Do you give that a lot of thought?
Correct, always. I I talk to my kids about it all the time. You know, now that they getting up in age where they can start to understand certain things. Me and my son, we had talks about it all the time because I tell him I don't want him to box and he want to box.
Is he the one who wrestles?
Yeah, he the one who wrestles. And I tell him I don't want him to box, and you know, he's why, and I had to break it down to him and tell him why and why I'm doing this for them, and he can do something better because he got a better start and more opportunities than I had when I was his age.
With regards to, you said about how you could see yourself being a world champion, how do you see it playing out, your professional career? What's on the bucket list? What do you want to do?
I want to become undisputed, you know, at a welterweight division. That's my main goal right now, is to become undisputed and become the lineal welterweight champion of the world. I was the lineal champion at 35. I was the lineal champion at 140. Now I'm looking to do the same thing at 147.
You see, Bob Arum has been talking about an Errol Spence fight and trying to get that over the line sooner rather than later. Is that the fight that you would most like out of the guys at 147?
All of them. You know, me and Sean, that'd probably be the last fight if it ever was to happen, if we ever agreed to fight each other. But
what, you and Spence or you and
No,
Sean?
me and Sean.
Sure.
Me and Sean. You know, but all the other champions, yeah, it's fair game.
Thurman, Pacquiao, all those guys?
It's fair game.
Okay. Just going back, how did the switch hitting come about? Am I right in thinking you damaged a hand?
Yeah, I actually was I was going southpaw when I was little as well, you know, but my left hand wasn't that strong because I'm right-handed. So I had gotten in a fight in school and I had fractured my hand and it got infected, so I had to have surgery. And I had this cast on my hand, and my coach told me I couldn't train. And I was so eager to train, I couldn't stay out the gym. So I just go in the gym and just work strictly on my left. And then next thing you know, my left was equally or as strong as my right.
And you don't have a preference now?
Nah.
Okay. Good position to be in.
Yeah, benefiting.
A few years ago, Grover Wiley, an old pal of yours, said that you like to hurt people. Is that still the case?
Well, we're in the hurt business. You know, my dad always told me as a kid, when you get in the ring, don't play with nobody because you can get hurt playing. You can't play boxing.
Yeah. Do you have any worries about the sport and the damage that people take on?
Yeah, sometimes I think about it. That's why it's my job not to force myself into being in the sport longer than I have to be.
Do you have an end game in mind of how long you want to be fighting for?
A few more years, but right now I'm not even close to thinking about that because I'm so focused on the task at hand. That's retirement. It's not even in my mind right now.
Sure. The task at hand is Amir Khan. What do you make of him as a fighter?
He's a good fighter. He's very fast. He moves well. He got a lot of experience in big fights as well. He boxes real good.
People talk about his punch resistance, although he's obviously beaten people like Maidana on points and he has withstood some punishment from some good fighters. What do you make of it and what are you anticipating?
Them was good fights, you know, but me personally, when I look at fighters like Maidana and the other fighters that he beat, no disrespect to those fighters, they good fighters, but Maidana was just a straight come forward fighter. That his only big win was Broner, you know. But a lot of people rate Maidana at a high status, but to me, I can't rate him at a high status because he haven't really beaten nobody. Every time he stepped up, he lost.
It was because he pushed Mayweather, probably, yeah.
But he lost.
Yeah.
We don't give credit to doing good in fights. You know, if that's the case, then everybody good fighters.
Yeah. We talked briefly, obviously, how life changed in 2008, but how's life changed being a dad? Oh,
life changed 360. You know, I was one of those troubled kids, I should say, out in the streets, doing whatever. Even though I had boxing, you know, to take up a lot of my time, I still was doing a lot of stuff that I shouldn't have been doing. But at the same time, when I had my kids, you know, that changed my whole perspective of life, because now I gotta support them and be there for them.
You said that your oldest son can't box. When can your oldest daughter start dating?
Huh?
It's gonna come.
It's gonna come. When it comes, it'll come. She's gonna do, you know what I mean, what she's gonna do. All I can do is talk to her, you know, and make sure she make the right decisions and the right choices. I can't force her into doing anything that she don't want to do, because she's gonna be her own person. I don't want to be that father that's strict and they go out and sneak and do stuff behind your back and make all the mistakes because they don't trust you enough to come and talk to you. So I want to have a relationship with all my kids to where they can come and talk to me for anything.
People know that you had tough love growing up, and so you now have the opposite with your children. Is that right? Is that lessons learned and how from how you felt as a kid?
Correct.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about how going to Africa came about, because you've done humanitarian work over there.
Right. Well, going to Africa was something that I always wanted to do, and something that I always, a place that I always wanted to visit. So I got in touch with my 4th grade teacher, and I had seen that she was going back and forth to Africa. And so I had spoke with her briefly about me going with her. And she was excited to take me. And about 2 months later, we went to Uganda and Rwanda, and I liked it and had fun. And I took my girl. We went it the second time, and you know, it's a different feeling when you over there helping those people that really need help. Not the people that say, oh, well, I need help with this. No, they really need help, because...
I was going to say, you came up hard,
right.
But those guys come up different level.
It's way different. Yeah, our coming up hard compared to them is night and day, you know, but it's crazy because they so happy. And it's like, you don't have nothing, but you appreciate every little thing. You know, we have everything, but we don't appreciate nothing. So it's like totally reverse.
What kind of stuff did you do out there?
Oh, we took beds, we took clothes, we took cleaning supplies, hygiene supplies. We took balls, soccer balls, and footballs and basketballs, and just normal stuff to us that mean the world to them.
Do you have plans to go back?
Of course. I just haven't had the time to go back.
Yeah.
Because every time, you know, it comes up, I'm either training or have a fight or something's important that I have to be here for.
Yeah, of course. Just going through the, when you started boxing at the Carl Washington gym, what was it like when you first started? Did it come to you quickly?
Of course. Boxing didn't come to me quickly.
That's what I mean. That's
fighting.
What I mean. Yeah.
You know, when I first got in the ring, it was just an all-out brawl. All I just wanted to do was just fight. So I used to always ask Midge, because Carl never was coaching. You know, it was his gym, but he never was coaching when I was coming up. So I always asked Midge, I want to spar. And he'd be like, well, you got to be here for a week to spar. So.
Just a week?
Yeah.
Wow.
So
okay.
He want to make sure that you serious about boxing. So you got to be there for at least a week, nonstop, you know, and then he'll throw you in there, and I go in there and just brawl it out with the other kid and make him cry. And then he put me with low level up, and they outboxing me, and I'm getting mad, and he like, no, you gotta use the jab, you gotta use your skills. And I'm like, what's that? All I know is fighting. So, you know, he started teaching me the basics and fundamentals of boxing. And
then there was another time where your career hit the accelerator when you started sparring Tim Bradley, am I right?
Correct.
And that's because you were able to hold your own, or more than hold your own, in the gym with a guy who was, you know, a pound for pounder at the time.
Right. Well, that time, I wasn't getting any fights or getting any calls for anything. So it was kind of like I was on the shelf. And I was kind of frustrated because I would see a lot of people on TV that I felt I was way better than. So I will always ask my manager to step me up. You know, like, let me fight one of those guys. Let me fight a guy this. He'd just tell me, be patient. And I would be like, frustrated. So it was a call. Tim Bradley needed some sparring partners, but he needed a southpaw. And my coach had called me and asked me if I wanted to go. And I told him, yeah, but he was like, you can't go orthodox. You gotta strictly be southpaw. So that came about, and at first they was like, I'm too little, because I was at 135 and he was a big 140. And so we told him, like, if I don't hold my own the first day, send me home, you know? And we went down there, and the first day, they was like, whoa. It was like, what's your name? I was like, Terence. He was like, and you, who you signed with? I was like, Top Rank. And he was like, no, I was with TKO at the time. And he tried to buy me out my contract.
Tim did?
Tim tried to buy me out my contract because he was just like, you not a sparring partner. He was like, you're a world champion. He was just like, I don't know what they doing sitting on you, but you need to be out there to the world. He was like, if they don't want to do nothing with you, I'll do something with you. So he called my manager up and asked him how much he want for me. And it was just like, nah, we ain't letting him go.
So was that when you realized that you belonged? Was that a pivotal moment?
Well, I always felt like I belonged. I always asked for the step-up fights, and I always wanted to challenge myself. I never wanted to be an Olympic gold medalist. You know,
that wasn't a dream?
That was never my dream. I wanted to actually turn pro at 17. But my coaches and everybody that's a part of Team Crawford wanted me just to take my time. And it paid off.
You're at the sharp end of the sport now. You know, you're a big business, big name. You have a big brand. Do you love the game?
Of course. I've been in it since I was 7. I love it.
But fighters come in and they fall out of love with it. You know, they get involved in business and politics, and they lose the passion. But you still got it.
Of course, of course. I feel like boxing. I've given so much of my life to boxing. You know, and I'm not done yet. So I'm still motivated.
Who is the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world?
You looking at him?
Who's the second best pound-for-pound fighter in the world?
That ain't my position to rate.
Would you put, you know, the people are talking about in terms of the top 5, people talk about Canelo, they talk about they talk about Errol Spence, they talk about Lomachenko and Usyk. Would you put those guys all near the top end with you?
Canelo and Usyk, yes. Errol, he's a great fighter. I take no credit away from him, but I can't put him in the top 5, beating Mikey Garcia. Just like I can't give Lomachenko credit for beating Rigondeaux. When I fight guys my weight or a little bit shorter, they don't give me credit because they say I'm the bigger man and they can't give me credit. So I can't give somebody credit for fighting somebody that haven't never fought in a weight class before credit.
Sure. You hunt and fish, but when you're busy with fighting and you got obviously 5 kids to look after, do you still get time to do that?
Of course, they go with me.
Do they?
Yeah, they love it.
What kind of stuff do you hunt?
We just fish. We just fish for catfish and bass and bluegills and crappies.
Do you do it here as well?
No, I don't do it here.
Just back home?
Yeah.
So what's the motivation then? Because you talked about, you know, wanting to unify, you've obviously got the kids and everything else. What is your driving force? When you get up, you wake up in the morning, you've obviously got money in the bank and stuff. Why get up?
My kids.
Yeah.
they my motivation. You know, I gotta set a great example for them, you know, and for my own pleasure, and that's becoming the best fighter in the world. It ain't gonna be easy, so when the times that I don't want to get up, you know, I just think about it. My opponent might be up running, so that just gives me the motivation to get up and run even harder because I didn't want to do it at the beginning of it.
How much room for improvement do you have?
A lot, a lot.
What can you do? What's going to make you better?
Hey, listen, there's always bumping and bruises along the road, you know. It's like sharpening a pencil. You gotta stay sharp.
Are you a role model?
Correct.
Not just to your kids, but to young fight fans and so forth. You embrace that responsibility.
Well, it was something that I really didn't, you know, actually want, but when it came around, you know, it was something that I had to deal with and show the young generation, you know, the right thing to do. So basically, that actually helped me in a sense, because when you got younger kids looking up to you and telling you that they want to be like you when you grow up, you can't give them bad habits. You can't show them negative things. So that helped me in my life too.
Do the streets still call you?
Nah, the streets don't call me. Sometimes I might get mad or something at somebody, but that stuff is behind me.
So were you a good guy that did bad things, or were you a bad guy that's now good?
I don't know. I'm a good guy.
You're pretty secure about that. You seem to be in the mindset now where you have gone full circle and you've come out of all of that and you're very positive moving forwards.
Right.
How's that come about? Has that been through boxing or boxing and family, the two things?
I would say, you know, like I said, my kids.
Yeah.
My kids helped me to grow up and change my life around.
When we spoke in the UK earlier in the year, there was like a logjam with all the welterweights all having upcoming fights, and Khan was the guy that you pulled out the hat. He wasn't at the top of your list, though, was he?
No.
And it was just because the other guys were busy.
Correct.
So who is at the top of the list?
The title holders.
Any of them and all of them?
Any of them.
Okay. Does Spence have a particular X on his back because people regard him as your natural rival? People are saying that's the best fight that can be made in boxing.
That is the best fight, you know, on paper, but we don't know because we never fought the fight. You know, he's gifted in a lot of ways, and I'm gifted in a lot of ways, and a lot of people just view me and him as the two top fighters at the welterweight division. You know, we just got to fight the fight to see who's number one.
Khan says that he's the best guy that you've faced. Do you agree?
I ain't faced him yet, so I can't say.
On paper, do you think he is?
On paper, he's one of them, yes. He is one of them.
Do you have any concerns about his speed?
No.
Okay. He's told us that he's near the end and that he's writing the last chapter. Do you think you're going to put a full stop on his career?
We shall see.
Crawford versus Khan, live only on BT Sport Box Office.